So, the Akashic Records are the knowing or the remembering of everything that's ever been, everything that is, and everything that could be. While we are in these human bodies and making sense of reality through these human minds, we can't access the Akashic Records in their totality, in their purity, because the Akashic Records are the remembering of infinity and eternity, which is absolutely incomprehensible to the human mind. The human mind is designed in a way where it is perceiving things in limited linear ways. So when we are in this human incarnation and we access the Akashic Records, what we're essentially doing is we are coming into a still and spacious state of consciousness so that we can receive a stream of, I call it Akashic energy, but it's energy from the Akashic Records. And this energy carries the frequencies of divinity and the reminders that divinity is continuously offering us, which, to put into human language, are the reminders of love. That love is the underlying current beneath everything in this experience of life. There's so much love for us here. There's love from God. There's love from Pachamama. All that we experience is supporting the evolution of our souls. Everything that is serving us in some way. So the Akashic Records are always reminding us of love. They're also always reminding us of unity. They're reminding us of how to live a life in peace. They're reminding us of our interconnectedness with everybody here on this planet and with all of creation, our interconnectedness with God, with Pachamama, with our star family, with all that is. And they're also continuously reminding us of our creative power, that we are these extensions, these expressions of God. So we also have creative power. And when we develop our relationship with the divine, we are able to manifest consciously our desires here in this experience of life. The Akashic Records also purify our desires and align our personal desires with the desires of the divine, with the will of God. Because sometimes humans want something because they feel like if they achieve that thing, if they manifest that thing, if they have that life experience, then they will experience love. Then they will feel worthy. Then they will be special, significant. Then they will have peace. Then they will have security. But the Akashic Records is continuously teaching us how unconditionally loved, worthy, valuable, significant, special we already are. So the optimal foundation from which we get to approach the manifestation of our desires is the foundation of knowing that we are already loved. We are already provided for. I'm just tuning into all the new faces that have joined us. Welcome. So when I tune into the Akashic Records, I do it by saying a prayer. And when I say that prayer, I actually experience like an elevation and expansion of my consciousness. That's how I feel it. And then I do my best to communicate whatever it is I'm seeing, feeling, sensing. Sometimes I actually hear what I say. Sometimes it's an energy that streams in. And then I do my best to put words to that energy. And I want to invite you all to receive what resonates with you, knowing that ultimately you all have your own unique relationship with God, with the divine, with the Akashic Records, whether you are actively, consciously working with the Akashic Records or not. And you also know deep inside What is resonant with you? What is true for you? What messages, what perspectives serve you on your personal path of evolution? Does anybody have any questions so far? For those of you who just joined us, I'm going to be saying a prayer to connect to the Akashic Records. And then I'm going to see if there are any messages that naturally come through for the group. And then after that, I'm going to open up to personal questions, which you can ask by using the raise your hand option with the react icon at the bottom. And then you can share your question on screen verbally, or you can share your question in the chat box. I love you guys. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm excited to share with you. This is always such an enjoyable and healing experience for me as well. And to access the Akashic Records. So if everybody is ready, I'm going to start to drop in. And I invite you to drop in with me. If you're available to, you can close your eyes. I like to drop in by taking in these really deep, expansive breaths. And then allowing my consciousness, my presence to drop into this now moment. Becoming present with my body, my breath, my heart especially, as our hearts are what makes sense of the messages that come through from the Akashic Records. Everything is interpreted through the heart. Okay, I'm going to start with the prayer. Spirit, support me in coming into an elevated, expanded state of consciousness so that I may be one with your perspective. Set aside the totality of my personality. So that I may serve as a clear channel for your divine love, insight, and guidance. Allow me to see all who are present with me here today and all who tune into the replay as they are seen in the light of the Akashic Records. Help me to know them as they are known in the mind of God, and enable me to share your communication spirit with your clarity, with your love, with your truth. And so it is. The Akashic Records are now open. Before we collectively open to receive other messages, what is coming through right now is this really beautiful energy that is supporting us in dropping into the well-being that is available to us now. It feels like for some of us present here, for some of us listening to the replay, we are learning that well-being is always available to us, and sometimes we take baby steps towards it by allowing ourselves to envelop whatever it is we may be experiencing with the frequencies of peace, acceptance, grace, compassion. Sometimes we access well-being by softening, surrendering into whatever big emotion may be moving through us, into whatever chaos or drama we may find ourselves in. Oftentimes it's within our own minds, within our own consciousness. This is how we begin to unravel different stories that we've been harboring for a long time, sometimes since childhood. Stories that keep us from experiencing the love, the joy, the possibility, the creative power, the peace that we are all desiring, that we are all worthy of, that is available to each and every one of us here in this experience of life. You are so loved. You are so supportive. There is so much available to you here. Life is infinite and eternal. Existence is infinite and eternal. And when we live with awareness of that spiritual truth, we start to gain greater access to possibility within our lives, or we become more empowered to create what it is we feel called to create, to move beyond our limiting beliefs, the own ways in which we hold ourselves back from fear, from ideas of lack, ideas of separation, from unconscious feelings of unworthiness. New ways are always available to us, new ways of being, new ways of believing, new ways of behaving, and that is how we create new life circumstances for ourselves. So through this awareness that life is actually, existence is actually infinite and eternal, we can access possibility in each moment. It can grant us the courage to let go, to allow ourselves to die and be reborn, to change, to transform. There are ways in which humanity currently resists transformation, resists change. And there are various reasons for this. One of them is that collectively, for the most part, we have created a distorted relationship to death, where it is seen as something that is solely bad, solely negative, tragic, awful, resisted at all costs, not remembering that we have lived a million times before and will live a million times more. And in every death as an expansion, a remembering, a reclamation of more of ourselves, these mini deaths that we experience in our lives, they lead us to embodying more of our soul. They lead us into more of what we are desiring, more of what is actually true for us, a life that is reflective of heaven on earth, because that is available to us here. Heaven on earth is a state of consciousness. And even when our physical forms die, there can be, well, there is generally for many, not all, there is a fear around death because there's a collective fear of the unknown. There's a fear resistance to the void, the emptiness. And when we are unconsciously harboring that fear within ourselves, then we resist our own transformation, because often transforming, growth, healing, whatever you want to call it, requires a letting go of what is familiar, of what is known, and an opening to a period of time where we are abiding in the mystery, in the void, in the emptiness, where we have not yet been filled with the new blessings to come. So I'm hearing this message coming through around inviting you to explore your relationship to death, to emptiness, to the void, to darkness, because this is what supports you in heading in the direction of your own transformation, if that's what you're desiring. And right now, humanity is on this, well, it feels to be like this accelerated path of transformation and change, because we are collectively awakening to the fact that so many of the systems that we've created are not working for us. Everything from the medical system, the pharmaceutical industries, we're awakening to the corruption within our governments, to the ways in which so many powers on this planet, these powers leading us forward, may not have our best interests at heart, or may not be truly connected and aware of spiritual reality and operating accordingly. Spiritual reality being love, unity, possibility, and the possibility of co-creating heaven on earth here, and personally experiencing heaven on earth through the cultivation of love, unity, remembrance within your own consciousness. So as we are collectively awakening to all of that, we are transforming really quickly. And we are all a part of this transformation. We contribute to the ending of wars on the planet by ending the little mini subtle wars within, the subtle wars that we have within our own families. And when I say these subtle wars, they can be as subtle as being out in public and, harshly judging someone in our own mind, or having a negative, diminishing thought around our own bodies when our own body is perhaps experiencing a symptom or experiencing a disease. These little mini antagonistic energies. This is clearing, this is healing. It is a process, invitation to allow yourself to become more aware of, more conscious of these ways that are within all of us. They're part of humanity, but they're healing. And then also offer them a lot of compassion and grace so that they can heal. I'm receiving a message right now around how collectively so many of us underestimate the healing power of love. There are many ways, many pathways to our healing. We are so supported by spirit in our healing, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. But sometimes it can be as simple as cultivating ever more love within our own consciousness. When we are abiding in love ever more consistently, this impacts every cell of our body. And this then reflects in the health of our physical body. our physical body starts to manifest, reveal this love that we have cultivated within. And this love is so supportive to the optimizing of our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, our spiritual health. So if there's one thing, the invitation right now is if there's one thing you're going to focus on, love, and everything that supports us in cultivating love within, compassion, forgiveness, letting go, as well as having appropriate boundaries. Because at this time, a lot of humanity, like we're still learning how to relate to one another consciously and with compassion and with love. So these boundaries they are absolutely essential to being able to live amidst the world, to open our hearts to having relationships with people, but not internalizing any sort of negativity or hurt or pain that may be communicated, or just an energy that is sent our way within our relationships. That way, we develop immunity to not engaging in these cycles, these little subtle wars, where we then create resentment within, anger within. Anger has its time and place. It is a deeply valuable emotion. It's valuable in supporting us in developing boundaries. And ultimately, the boundaries are all about us and us continuing to maintain and cultivate love within us, because that is the pathway to our personal well-being and our personal thriving in this experience of life. Mm-hmm. I would love to open it up to your personal questions now. You're welcome to share them in the chat, or you can use the raise your hand option and share on video. Carmen.
Good morning, gorgeous. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, that was so beautiful. And good morning to everybody. What a true blessing to be in the midst of this consciousness. I have a question about my work moving forward, just where I'm at with what I have to offer and what form it could take. And for sure, greater levels of prosperity. I'm so grateful for what I have, and I would love to experience more and be more generous. So whatever you have to say about that, I would love it.
What direction would you love to head in regarding your work?
That's a good question. Well, I want to cultivate ever greater intimacy with the planet in different places, not just I'm in San Diego. I would love to cultivate just deep, earth-rich connection in Italy, where I want to live eventually. And gosh, South America, Africa, India, some way to travel that really supports and honors me and my sensitivities and serves the planet. And a lot of playfulness. I love to play games and work with groups. Yeah, and self-expression. Like when I'm comfortable and confident, there's a lot of love and self-expression that can come through. I know that's kind of vague.
What do you feel has potentially blocked you from living that, doing that now?
Some of it's been fear of visibility. Whoops, the grid just changed.
Yeah.
And I'm in the midst of braces and reconstruction in my mouth. Some of that has just been needing to finish handling that. And I was super visible in my life years ago. And I got very private and did a lot of deep inner work and reconnection with family. And so some of it just, it hasn't been time. And I haven't had that kind of energy. And that feels like it's changing. And I'm more available. And I mean, the fact that I even raised my hand here in front of everybody.
Thank you, Carmen. Hmm. Is there more you want to share?
No, I just want to listen if anything comes through.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to see how this question applies to the group. The first visual that I was receiving when you asked your question was around, it was like a visual or an energy of settling into your value, the value of your spirit, of your nature, who and how you are naturally, and recognizing, accepting that that value is truly unconditional. And it is not dependent upon you becoming more, being more, healing more, even being more ready. I feel like for you and for many of us, we're in a season of, let me drop in around how to word this because I'm seeing the visuals to it. Honoring our divine design, meaning honoring how God made us and recognizing that it is absolutely perfect and that we are entirely supported by God in living that design entirely. And that design includes all of our natural gifts, what it is that we love to do, however it is that we desire to serve, and whatever lifestyle feels most resonant and exciting to us. That is what we are all inherently worthy of. Yet, in order to truly access this pathway, we are collectively, many of us, shedding layers of conditioning, which go back thousands of years. They go back so long, so many ideas that society, culture, the people around us, our communities have imposed on us around what is actually possible for us in this life. How can we live? What is a valuable offering for other human beings? There have been forces like currents. I see them as like energetic currents on the planet that have perpetuated slavery for so long. And presently, that manifests as the conditioning that we need to have a 9 to 5 job working for someone else that we don't love, that doesn't feel like the highest, truest offering of our energy in service to humanity. For some of us, our highest excitement and our path is to have a job, but for many of us, it's not. And even those of us who don't currently have a job, sometimes we're still susceptible to the conditioning around our value. I'm trying to find words how to say this next one. It's like the vision that I was seeing was how, for some of us, we're just, I mean, how do I put words to it? It's like some of us are just spiritual anchors here, like bringing in reminders around how to live in a beautiful way. And our full-time job is to commune with the divine and work with divine wisdom to heal our own lives and live in right relationship with life, and then share that. And for those of us whose natural divine design is that, many of us have been told as children that that's not valuable, that we need to figure out like a career, a job. So sometimes that deconditioning can take time and it can hold us back in little ways where there can be like little doubts, like we're just kind of hesitant, we're not sure, it doesn't feel quite right to just take the leap and go for it and like blindly with full faith do the next thing that feels exciting. There can be conditioning around, oh, you need to be responsible. You need to be like realistic. But this whole experience of life is a miracle. And it's supportive to be grounded here and to take action from a grounded place. But sometimes we confuse being grounded and realistic with limiting ourselves. And the tricky part about that is that when we are harboring limiting beliefs around what is possible for us, like what we actually can live and experience, the ways in which we can serve and be provided for abundantly and prosperously, then they do tend to reflect in our lives. But sometimes we can have more courage to take steps forward, to take the leap, and just start to head in that direction when we know that everything is susceptible to change. So let's say we start walking in that direction of like just living our dreams completely and entirely. And maybe our business or whatever we decide to start doing isn't an overnight success. Keep walking forward with faith. Sometimes people can get discouraged or can start to accrue debt and then feel really overwhelmed and then create stories about themselves. Like, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't worthy. Now I'm totally broke. Now I have the stress of debt, the burden of debt. And that actually distracts us from our service and from moving forward. We need to focus on possibility and remain focused so that every step forward that we take, all of our actions are bringing with that frequency of possibility. Possibility is what opens us up to new ways, to new pathways, to new potentials. And that's when we can take these quantum leaps into new experiences of life and find ourselves in a life that feels truly aligned, where we actually are living our dreams. And sometimes the path to living our dreams it's not always comfortable. Sometimes it does require a leap forward taken in faith that can bring up all of our limiting beliefs. I can't do this. This is destined to fail. I'm not worthy. I shouldn't step forward and share in this way. Whatever it is, we are going to come face to face with it. And it helps to know that none of us really entirely perfectly know what we are doing here. We just get to do our best, show up for the next step, and God's always got us. I was in a ceremony yesterday and I did have a moment of like, what am I going to share about tomorrow? Like it's just such a funny concept to like share with people what you call the Akashic Records. And sometimes people can have these projections of what the Akashic Records actually are, that they are like messages directly from God. It can feel very just funny to claim that. We're always going to have insecurities and doubts, and it's actually really healthy to walk with them because it keeps us humble and it keeps us growing. And the better we get at walking forward with whatever insecurity may arise, with whatever feeling of unworthiness may arise, the better we get at walking forward and actually moving forward. We never actually can control what the outcome is going to be of our like forward moving momentum. But when we have faith in God, then we can take the risks to transform our lives, to give up what's been when it doesn't feel truly resonant, and to release the idea that we need some sort of security blanket or like some sort of safety net before we move forward, or that we need any guarantees that it's actually going to work the way that we desire or envision. Yeah. Does that resonate, Carmen? I just muted you, by the way, because I could just.
Thank you. It does in some ways. The word that most powerfully spoke to me was some of us are anchors of consciousness. You didn't maybe say of consciousness. I very much resonate with that. And when I read my own records regularly, and the message I get is, this is it. You're in the kingdom. Just live in love and trust it, and trust that you're being of service in ways you can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
And that's consistent. The thing that F's me up is, oh, but I could or should, or but I used to want to, and I thought I would be. Then that messes me up because it's not an authentic impulse. It's an idea.
Mm.
And my authentic impulses, are pretty simple. And I live a pretty simple, sweet life.
Mm.
So that's what comes to
Beautiful. Thank you, Carmen.
you.
Thank you. In these group containers, I opened up the Akashic records of the group. So you're welcome to ask personal questions. I will be tuning into the group field, not like personal individual fields. There's a way in which Spirit brings us together for these offerings. I really trust in the divine orchestration of it. And I really trust when people are inspired to ask a question. I can't tell you how many times people have been like, I didn't ask a question, and all my questions were answered through other people's questions. So you're welcome to ask a personal question. I'm going to be tuning into the group field. If you want like personal, just for you responses, where I dive into just your life, just your consciousness, just your Akashic records, then I recommend booking a one-on-one session with me. Thank you. Thank you. Tuning into the chat. Okay, I'm going to dive into this question in the chat. Yeah, I resonate so highly with what you shared. I'm glad. I have been given a divine assignment of offering a daily channel transmission free on YouTube. Is there anything I need to prepare in addition to what my team is already showing me? Any additional guidance that would make them most beneficial for the collective? Hmm. The guidance that I'm receiving as relevant to the group is that any time we are preparing to share transmissions with the collective, with other people, it is really deeply supportive to cultivate whatever it is we want to transmit in that experience, to cultivate that within our own lives in a consistent, reliable way. So every thought that we think, every way in which we are relating to our loved ones, the way in which we take care of ourselves, everything leading up to offering that transmission is going to be a part of that transmission. The more that we open to sharing with humanity, the more that life asks us to truly actually live everything that we're sharing. So It can be really helpful when we're preparing to share transmissions with others to share transmissions with ourselves first and create a daily habit of sharing a transmission with ourselves, guiding ourselves where we want to guide others, and then being really anchored in that place of living from love, from peace, from possibility, of consistently accessing that spiritual wisdom, and then doing our best to live accordingly. And then the other message I'm receiving is around how sometimes no mental preparation is best, meaning not having any ideas of what is going to be shared, because the group field and the present moment will inform us of everything that wants to be spoken and shared, what is of greatest service, and that arrives in the moment. So the more that we trust the mystery, the more we can be available to share from that space versus having any sort of plan. The more that we trust God, the less nervous or the less we get in our own way when we're sharing with other people. Sometimes, if we want to be seen in a certain way, it can actually give rise to nervousness. And anytime there's nervous energy, that energy is like brought to the transmission. When we have trust and faith in God, when we are sourcing our love, our specialness, our uniqueness from God, meaning it is unconditional, it is inherent to who and how we are, then it actually equips us to share with people without being so susceptible to how we are perceived or the ways in which we might be judged. Anytime we open ourselves to sharing with people, there's always that possibility. And when we are psychic and deeply open and tuning into people, we actually feel those judgments more deeply. But when we're sourced in God, they don't impact us at all. And it's perfectly okay. Hmm. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. It highly, highly aligns with everything that I've been getting. So thank you for the confirmation. Sometimes I just need that little extra confirmation. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So nice to see you. When you started speaking, I was able to see you. So lovely to connect with you. Thank you, love. Mhm. Yeah, and sending so much love to your transmissions. I'm excited about it. I feel like the more of us that are speaking and sharing, it really has an impact. And there's something irrelevant to your question, but maybe it inspires people here, people listening to the replay. This is my own personal perspective that I'm going to be sharing. I feel that it comes from the Akashic Records based on my understanding of the Akashic Records. You may completely disagree, and that's okay. We all play our own role. We all have our own beliefs, and they're all equally as valid. But sometimes people will share things with me, or I'll see intuitives, Akashic Record readers, channels, spiritual practitioners share on the direction that humanity is heading in. And sharing it in a way that feels very scary. And there's a reality to these transmissions where there's going to be a lot of upheaval, but this upheaval is guiding us in deeply positive directions, like directions that we've all been praying for, whether consciously or unconsciously. Our destiny is to remember. We can only live within this amnesia and forgetfulness for so long. And in our remembrance, we all embody love. We remember that every single being on this planet is an aspect, an extension of us, that it is one consciousness that animates all, that the earth is our mother, that we belong to each other, that our well-being is dependent upon the well-being of our planet, the well-being of each other, that the only way in which we can live on heaven on earth, which every soul wants to live on some level, is through love, forgiveness, compassion, living from unity consciousness. That is the only way that we can create the positive karma in our lives that is necessary for us to live an experience of life that reflects heaven on earth. So that's the direction humanity is heading in, and there are so many different paths we can take. There's so many possibilities for how we can get there. And I feel like it's really supportive when psychics and intuitives who can like feel into what is occurring and what is coming share what is possible from a more positive perspective, because then that gives more energy to that timeline. And then we can all focus on living into that timeline, because we are not bound to one timeline of different predictions I've heard, like heading towards a World War III. Like that's not inherently 100% true. It is a possibility in the fields. And the more that consciousness, that humanity wakes up, the more consciousness we have on the planet, the more quickly we can change direction. So we may have momentum in one direction, but through consciousness, we can change direction. And it's like that in our own personal lives. You know, when you make a decision and you find yourself in a karmic loop and you're like, oh, this isn't really what I desire, but I chose this behavior and now I'm in this loop. Without consciousness, we can live in that for a lifetime. With consciousness, we take that ride on that karmic loop and we utilize the power of our consciousness to choose a new way, even if it's uncomfortable. And sometimes it is uncomfortable to choose love, because it does transform our ego and the way in which many of us have been, maybe all of us have been conditioned, because it's a part of the collective human consciousness around feeling like we want to be right, believing that we are entirely separate, believing in lack. All of this all these ideas start to dissolve, and these ideas have been here for a long, long time. We've really believed they were true, and through believing they are true, they become true. So that's what we've actually lived. Like, it appears to be reality. Lack appears to be reality. Separation appears to be reality. The need for war appears to be reality. But they're just beliefs. They're not the inherent truth. So that is currently transforming. I'm going to read the next question in the chat, and then I'm going to come to the hands that are raised. Okay, so this question from the chat: I'm struggling to break up the relationship with my partner. How can I overcome the doubts and do this the most loving way, also towards him? I'm going to take a moment to drop in again. Mm. To trust in love and to let love lead you. Love has an intelligence to it. And love leads us towards people, and love also leads us away from people, because ultimately, if possibility, let me feel into it. There's so many layers to this. So I'm seeing where I want to start. When we know that a relationship is not a compatible match, then we can honor that by allowing it to complete. And we can approach this completion of an iteration of this relationship where we are in this romantic dance together. We can approach it with the knowing that we are completing it because there is incompatibility, not because there is something wrong with the other person or something wrong with us, or because the other person has failed us or we have failed them, or because they've hurt us or we've hurt them. There's actually a way to complete relationships where, well, okay, I'm going to say things, but it's all going to be very contradictory because I'm seeing many layers that want to be acknowledged in completing relationships consciously. And one of them is that anytime we are ending a relationship and blaming another person's shortcomings for the end of it, then we are engaging in unconscious relational dynamics. And if we're constantly gauging whether people are good enough for our love, then we are susceptible to also gauging whether we ourselves are good enough for love. Because how we perceive others, we have one lens. So how we're perceiving others, what we're projecting onto others, we also become susceptible to perceiving ourselves through that same lens and projecting onto ourselves in that same way. So if we are thinking, oh, you hurt me because you did this, you betrayed me, you are wrong here, you're bad here, then at any moment that could shift to us perceiving ourselves in that same light. But it can be really supportive to have the foundation when engaging in romantic relationships that everybody has their flaws, everybody has their shortcomings. Every single person is going to behave in ways that may potentially, quote unquote, hurt us. So it's more about exploring compatibility. Does this feel right and true for me? Does this relationship feel like where God wants me, where God has placed me? Has God placed me here, knowing that God loves me unconditionally? Or have my own fears of lack, fears of being alone, have my own personal attachments placed me here? Has my own lust placed me here? Has my own mind placed me here? Or is it God? And if it doesn't feel like it was God that placed you in that relationship, if it doesn't feel reflective of God's blessings, which are love, which are peace, which are well-being. Let me see. Then through developing our relationship with God, it feels a lot easier to let go. Because in developing a relationship with God, we get to know the mind, heart, and spirit of God. And if God is our creator, then we get to see what is possible within this creation, within this experience of life. And we see that if there is a desire for a romantic relationship, then that is a possibility within our lives. And as we align to it, God will bring it. And everything that we let go of along the way just brings us closer towards that. So the more that we focus on God, focus on the path forward, the more we can move forward with courage and faith, knowing that we are not inherently losing anything along the way. We're only dropping into greater alignment with what feels true and real for us. And relationships is one way in which people sometimes stray from their alignment because of attachments, because so many of us are so void of love, hungry of love. We weren't loved very well by our parents, loved in the ways that we need, so we don't really know love. And the way to heal that in the present day is by cultivating a relationship with God, with the divine, and with Pachamama, and with ourselves. Because inherent within all of these relationships is so much love, so much love. So then we are not void of love. We're not susceptible to creating attachments that do not serve us and that do not serve others. And then relationships become these places where we get to express our love and share our love and be in love versus like get love. And there will always be bonding in relationships, but we become less susceptible to creating an attachment that depletes our energy, that actually distracts us from living in love, that holds us back. Yeah, with love, we can let go in peace. And while from the Akashic Records perspective, there is never a real loss because you're always walking towards more and greater and what is more truly aligned for you. And because the soul is eternal. So that's why there can't be loss. The human mind does perceive loss. And when there's loss, there's grief. So the more comfortable we can get with experiencing grief and moving grief through us, really present with our human experiences with so much grace, with so much compassion, with so much acceptance, then we can embrace and live in a season of grief while also experiencing love, while also enjoying life, while also experiencing peace. We tend to resist grief, and then our resistance actually amplifies it and can make it more challenging to move through us than it actually needs to be. That resistance can cut us off from love, from acceptance, from peace, while we may be experiencing grief, which is a very normal and healthy human response to transitioning out of a romantic relationship where there has been a lot of love shared and exchanged. And when we are cutting the cords to attachments, even if those attachments haven't been serving us, the mind can create different stories about them, different fantasies about them that can have us feel like it is a loss. So there may be grief. Mm. Mm. I'm going to see if there's more there. When you approach life from the real love of my life is me. The real love of my life is God. The real love of my life is life. It actually sets you up to co-create healthier relationships and enter into romantic relationships with those that you actually have compatibility with. It grants you the gift of discernment. And discernment is different from judging others. It simply allows you to see what is right for you, what feels true for you in a romantic relationship. And it allows you to see that early on and to accept it. Because then you're not seeking for love outside of yourself. You're actually seeking compatibility, which is deeply supportive in long-term relationships, and there being a lot of peace and growth, and it really feeling right and true and like a blessing from God. Hmm. I'm going to take one more question for today. all of the other questions, we can answer them on our next call. You're also welcome to email them to me if you can't make it live to your next call. And I'm going to go to Christy, because that's the first hand that's up.
Hi, Daniela. Hi,
Hi.
folks. I was doing a bit of a life stock take this morning, and what popped up eventually was I've been experiencing a kind of an inner tension for a long time in the system. And yet I can drop down into a very deep place. So what I kind of came to is I feel stuck. It's like I have one foot on the brake and another foot on the accelerator. And maybe a lot of people might relate to that on the call. So I was just wondering, did you have any insights around that?
You said you've been experiencing tension?
An inner tension, yeah, in my system for quite a long time. It manifests in kind of different ways, but there's no point in going into all the gory details.
Okay. And you experience that tension physically?
Yes, yeah. Well, it could be a spiritual tension, you know. I haven't defined it in any particular way.
And one way you describe it is that you said your foot is on the gas and the brake at the same time.
Correct. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. That I keep doing. I mean, what brought me here, for instance, I follow my inner guidance. So will I or won't I? Okay. So I feel drawn to this, so I'll go for this. And you know, and another part, I'd overrule the part of me that says, okay, you should stay on this path all the time. I was on that for a long time in my career. So I'm now intuiting where I'm going more. But that could be self-deception as well. That's why one of the reasons I'm kind of asking you the question. Is that avoidance, or is it following my intuition? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me drop into it. Okay, I'm gonna take a moment to really feel into it. Because the messages that we're receiving they felt very simple in nature. Like first I was seeing this rooting into acceptance and presence, being really present in the moment and giving yourself full permission to live from and for the here and now. And then from there, allowing there to be flow, allowing yourself to move in different directions when that feels like your highest excitement. And I felt this sense of freedom, the sense of freedom and the sense of expansion within that freedom. And then that expansion, allowing there to be more space in the body, more space in your life, more space to do what you feel like doing in the moment without analyzing it too much or without potentially judging it, criticizing it in any way. It feels like this space that brings forth this this sigh of relief, and then there's like a relaxation in the body that comes from having full freedom to be who and how you are, to be fully accepted by yourself, to be completely and entirely loved, and that love bringing in a frequency of peace to the moment, to whatever you may be experiencing, to even to any like potential decisions that may be arising. It's like it becomes irrelevant what path you take. What becomes more important is peace in the moment, peace as you choose the path, and then peace as you walk the path. Because I feel like the flow sometimes is not something that is thought out beforehand. The flow is actually the stream of water, how it carries us, the stream of the divine, which is expressing itself from moment to moment to moment within us, and we can trust it and surrender to it. And Sometimes the messages that come through in the Akashic records are contradictory, they're paradoxical in nature, because different people have different paths and they're learning different ways. And for some of us, we are learning like structure and how to be discerning around what path we choose. And then for you, Christy, I just felt the opposite, like a temporarily just this moment of time of this very free flow. Like if you can imagine just freely dancing and enjoying the dance without any idea of what the next dance move is going to be, without wanting it or needing it to look a certain way, just feeling it and flowing and freedom of movement and expression. And that actually allowing some of the tension to dissipate and some of the like limiting stories to dissolve, which then opens up new pathways and then change from there. So it's like, that's not the long-term message, but that's the message for now, to drop into that, to cultivate that within, to then open up to new ways and to be able to move forward and flow in a way that feels expansive, like more relaxed, like you can't make a wrong choice. Everything here is redeemable. It's all forgivable. Anytime we head on this path, if it doesn't feel true, we can start to head in that direction. And ultimately, every step that we take serves us in some way. There's a reason why our souls is allowing it. There's a reason why God is permitting it. It's because it's serving our growth and our evolution in some way. So we can utilize it all as fuel for the evolution of our souls. No matter what the choice was, no matter what the pathway was. Yeah. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. I'll play with that and explore it. The two words kind of hit me, really resonate with me. One of them is freedom. Freedom is important to me. And the other one was self-acceptance. So I'll explore with that as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Christy. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to take a moment to close the records. Thank you, Spirit, for this transmission. May all be integrated with ease and grace in a way that serves our lives and the lives of all connected to us. And so it is. The Akashic records are now closed. Amen. This is a 5-part series. I hope you join us for parts 2, 3, 4, and 5. If your question wasn't answered, you're welcome to email it to me. And I apologize for all the questions that weren't answered. For those of you who are interested and learning how to access and channel the Akashic records, I am offering a special on Akashic Metamorphosis until November 11th. It's a big discount, both on the pay in full and the payment plan. I would love so much to welcome you. It's a 6-month training and mentorship where you yourself learn how to access the Akashic records. This practice is accessible to everybody. We all have our unique connection to the divine, and developing it is absolutely life-changing. It is so healing. I am continuously reminded. I was in my own Akashic records last night and I was like mind blown. I was like, whoa, like what a shift. Like that was so profound. And we can all do that. And we can all experience that love and that higher insight at any time. I also have a retreat coming up in December that you're all invited to in Peru. We're going to be communing with the sacred plant medicine of Wachuma, which is like one of my biggest soul allies in this experience of life. You're also going to be initiated in accessing the Akashic records, and we're going to be practicing accessing the Akashic records together as well as many other amazing workshops with the indigenous spiritual practitioners that live in the Sacred Valley, which is where I live in Peru. And of course, you're also always invited to book a one-on-one session with me. I love you all so much. You're welcome to unmute yourselves if you feel to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being present here.
Take care. Thank you.
Hi, Christy. Bye, beautiful Crystal. So nice to see you. Hi, Jim. Hi, Mick. So nice to see you. Bye, Arno.
Take care.
Bye. Okay, I'm
Bye,
so
Daniela. Thank you so much. Bye. It was
Bye.
wonderful. Bye.
Yay.
Thank you.
Anouk, thank you, lovely. Jess, so sweet to see you. And Fada, thank you for coming. And Mick, I'm so happy you came.
Worked out well. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so nice to have you. I hope you're integrating the one-on-one really beautifully and that everything is unfolding.
Processing. Yes. A lot to unpack.
Yeah, sending blessings your way.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.